Welcome back. This is Xavier D. Johnson, and I am here with more of some of my favorite stuff. So, if you watched some of my last videos, you probably saw at least one of my videos was about the top 10 malwares, the hottest malwares of the summer. So this time, since I got a pretty nice bump, I wanted to go ahead and talk about what we always talk about on How They Got Hacked. If you're not subscribed to How They Got Hacked, go subscribe, go like a few videos, go check it out. How They Got Hacked. It's a show we do every Friday. Me, Tom Lawrence, Mo Nash. But one of our recurring themes is ransomware. And ransomware, if you don't know exactly what it is what is a piece of malware that does nothing but encrypt your data with a key that you do not have. And then you pay the attackers whatever their ransom is, and then they decrypt your software for you, or your files for you, hopefully. So for years, ransomware developers have come up with new families and attack campaigns. They've increased frequency. It's been pretty intense. I say ransomware probably peaked in 2017 with the whole rise of cryptocurrency miners, etc. So I want to talk about like 10 of the biggest ones, right? The first one I want to talk about here is here, let me get rid of my bookmarks for you guys. First one I want to talk about is this Hollywood hospital. So this Hollywood hospital was a victim of a cyber attack, and these are the top 10 of all time ransomwares, right? So this is back in February 11th, 2016. So this is before it was extremely normalized. And as you can see here in the updated article, the hospital ended up paying the ransom. So what they saw was staff at this hospital began seeing significant IT issues and declared an internal emergency. There's no information for patient or employee that was compromised, but what it looks like is it got hit with a ransomware. And these computers are essential for the documentation of patient care, lab work, x-ray, CT scans, etc. So yeah, it's pretty scary, right? When your medical records are encrypted and unable to be retrieved for you. The next big one of all time, this is probably my next biggest one down, would be when San Francisco, the San Francisco MART, right? The transit system actually got hacked. $73,000 ransom. This is a huge one, right? So like you would think San Francisco, they have all these tech people, they should be able to make sure that all of their stuff. No, that's not true. That is not true. Doesn't matter how big of a community you have around technology and security, you can still be pwned. So their payment systems read out of order. Boom. Right? It looks like the hacker decided to go ahead and display some data here. You hacked, all data encrypted. You hacked. Ooh. All data encrypted. Contact for key, cryptum at Yandex. And then they give the ID number. So this is ID 681. Maybe they started at 680. Maybe this is their first victim, but I doubt it. I think they have 680 victims. At least potential victims. So it looks like I gotta refresh here. Well, it looks like as of Sunday, some payment systems were down. They went ahead and got some of them up and going. It's unclear exactly how many were affected. They said that they wanted $73,000 in ransom. I'm not 100% sure if they went ahead and paid that, but it looks like at the time the attacker was demanding 100 Bitcoin. That's pretty harsh. That's a pretty rough one. One of my next big ones that everybody probably heard of was the Wannacry, right? So Wannacry was probably one of the biggest malwares that hit, and this is one of the biggest ransomwares that hit. This is what you probably know Marcus Hutchins, also known as Malware Tech, most for was actually thwarting this attack and actually stopping it. So what happened was UK has something called NHS, which is their national hospital system. And what happened was someone clicked on a link, and that compromised their computer. And since this Wannacry was a worm, it actually went through and compromised all of the computers on the network. So it was using a vulnerability in Windows, and it went ahead and it did a lot of damage. So apparently, what happened for this to stop was we had a white hat by the name of Marcus Hutchins come along and actually stop and null route this attack. This was one of the largest attacks, one of the more public attacks that we had seen. As of recent, there's been some more larger attacks, but this was one of the bigger public ones that was really interesting to follow. I would suggest you go back and read up on that. But then right after that, not too long after that, we saw an increase in what was called Petia, excuse me. And the Petia campaign went after banks, airports, power companies, all in Ukraine and other parts of Europe. So it looked like they were using a familiar exploit, and it spread fast. And this was one of the more fast spreading ransoms. It went after Maersk, which is a huge shipping company. So yeah, Kaspersky and Symantec definitely saw a lot of alerts these days. So yeah, this was a pretty interesting one. This is one of the more widely spread malwares that have come along. Then we had a ransomware called BadRabbit. And the BadRabbit ransomware, as you can see, this is late 2017. It looks like the files were potentially recovered, right? Because sometimes you will have ransomwares where the keys are leaked or retrieved from the actual payload or from the command and control server. And so what it looks like is basically there was a drive-by attack, which typically are fileless, and some dropper was put on unsuspecting websites. And so once this dropper was dropped on, no exploits were used. So you had to actually manually execute the malware dropper, which pretended to be an Adobe Flash installer. And it looks like BadRabbit uses Eternal Romance, which is a part of the Eternal Blue class of bugs that was leaked from the NSA in 2017, I believe. And so yeah, this was a scary one. It spread not as far and as fast as BadRabbit or not Petia, but it still spread, right? And this was still a lot of damage caused. One of the bigger ones here in the stateside was something called SamSam. And SamSam actually went ahead and shut down 2,000 computers in Colorado. The Colorado Department of Transportation is 2 days offline here because of the ransomware that went ahead and demanded payment for files. These ransomwares are ramping up, and they're becoming much more and more aggressive. As you can see, this was February 22nd, 2018. This was really aggressive. And then out of nowhere, we saw Atlanta fall. And Atlanta got hit with what looked like a ransom for $51,000, which is pretty cheap, to be paid in Bitcoin. What we end up seeing was that instead of this, Atlanta went ahead and tried to do it itself, rebuild its entire infrastructure, and that ended up costing them so much more than $51,000. We also saw here that the Port of San Diego had a really large breach. Everything got encrypted, and this is their official release from the Port of San Diego.com. Their CEO Rhonda Cagalino went ahead and talked about the fact that a ransomware was involved in this attack, and it looks like they don't really want to give out a whole lot of information. They went ahead and decided to either roll back or come up with a way to restart any of their infrastructure that they lost, that was compromised. They were pretty tight-lipped about this. They didn't really speak too much about it. But then you hear this update. Florida gets creamed. 3 cities 3 cities, I believe, got ransomed and huge payouts happened, right? So we talk about just less than a week after the Riviera Beach, 80 miles from Miami, looked like someone unanimously voted to pay $600,000 worth of Bitcoin to the extortionists who had locked their IT systems with ransomware. And a second city in the same state came to the same decision. Looks like the ransomware which hit Lake City is thought to be the same of the Riviera Beach attack, and it went through someone actually clicking the link. This is why you don't want to click on random links. And it's a bit of an update here, right? 600,000 was paid out to that attacker, right? And so we're starting to see more and more of these companies going ahead and paying, these municipalities and these companies going ahead and paying this so that they could get back to normal business. But there's no proof or there's no guarantee that the attackers will give you your data back. That's not 100% guaranteed. So I do want to update on one of the larger incidents that just happened. This is one of the most recent incidents, and this is in August 2019. There was a huge attack on Texas. Huge attack. It looked like at least 25% of the impacted entities had transitioned from response and assessment to remediation and recovery. So that's good. They got at least a quarter of their systems back up and going. This is a federal investigation, so we're not going to get a whole lot of information about it. But it looks like the Department of Information Resources, the DIR in Texas, responded to a ransomware attack against its entities across Texas. So it looks like more than 20 entities in Texas reported a ransomware attack. This is huge. I mean, this is about as big as it gets. You can see over time how these attacks have started to ramp up, ratchet up, and the intensity and the amount of money that they're requesting, it's getting intense. And so down here we see a few things that you can do to actually help yourself avoid and stay away from these ransomwares. And I would say, the biggest one is keep software updated, keep your antivirus up to date, create new and unique passwords that aren't changed often, and use MFA. These are the biggest things, right? So, limit the granting of administrative access, also known as principal at least privilege, and make sure that you do regular automated backups and segment your backups from your network. These are a few things that would allow you to be able to avoid the pain that comes along with ransomwares as they start to ramp up. Anyone could be a victim. As you see, there's more municipalities and more private companies being hit, and these seem to be like more nation state style attacks. But as time goes on, we just saw a timeline from 2017 all the way to 2019. These attacks are starting to become more and more aggressive, larger and larger, and after time, I think they'll start to roll down into the consumer space, into the small and the medium business space. So stay vigilant. Update your passwords, and this has been Xavier D. Johnson. Follow me on Instagram, Xavier_Johnson. Follow me on Twitter at Infinite. Like, subscribe, share. Thank you very much for watching, and take care.